Nearly 10 o'clock. White people don't want to work. They are lazy. Is that what British Asians think about white people? The reason I'm asking this question is because they are direct quotes from a gentleman who featured in Channel 4's Immigration Street last night. We're going to be talking to him in a little while. His name's Rafiq. But is that a fair comment to make? Would you like it if someone said that about Asians? What kind of things do people say about white people? What beliefs do Asians have? It was quite interesting. When we were trying to cast our guests for the first hour, we couldn't find anyone that disagreed with Rafiq's statements. White people don't want to work and they are lazy. Is that racist? It certainly sounds like it. 81869 on the text or email Nihal at bbc.co.uk and we'll start talking after the news with Priyanka Deladia.
Got something to say? Then say it. Nihal on BBC Asian Network.
Priyanka, thank you very much indeed. Good morning. 4 minutes past 10 in the morning. Welcome to the phone-in show with me, Nihal. Did you watch Immigration Street last night on Channel 4? Here's what one of the residents, Rafiq, had to say.
On TV, the media, the way they're portrayed, immigrants coming over, they're only talking about the negative side. You want the truth? English people are very lazy. Immigrants come here, do all the rubbish jobs, and they do well, and you people can't handle it. And that's honest truth. And let's be honest about that. And 10 years, 15 years down the line, they're doing well, and you lost complaining. So why is it these people doing well? And if it wasn't for the immigrants after World War II, your country will not, or say our country will not be where it is today.
Do you agree with that? We're going to be speaking to Rafiq in a little while. But do you agree with what he had to say? That without immigrants, this country wouldn't be where it was. That English people are lazy. They don't want to work. Is that how Asians think about white people? If you are against that, get in contact with me. If you have some sympathy with that, get in contact with me. But if you do have some sympathy with it, what's the difference between you and a racist? If you're willing to see a whole race of people, perhaps it's your own personal experiences. But of course, don't we always say to people who are racist against Asians, don't block us all together. Judge us individually by what we do. And yet, are we willing to say things about whole groups of white people? When I was talking to Tommy Sandu earlier on about this, he said he hears this stuff said all the time in his family. About white people are this, white people are that. And none of it positive. So, tell me, do you agree with what Rafiq had to say? Is it fair to judge a whole community like that? And how would you feel if the tables were turned? Perhaps as a British Muslim specifically, you do know what it feels like when you're all lumped together. White people don't want to work. They're lazy and now they're complaining about immigrants doing well. Is that the perception that most Asians have about white British people? It seems to be an extraordinary conversation to be having, and I can imagine if a Daily Mail journalist or a UKIP member was listening, not saying that the two things are mutually... I'm not going to get myself into a cul-de-sac there. Then they might well be outraged. So what's the difference? Wes just tweeted me saying, I take offence to some Sikh kids calling my kids skinny white boys. I told their father he wasn't bothered in the slightest. That's what someone's just tweeted me. So tell me, what do you think? And if you watched Immigration Street last night and you heard Rafiq make those comments, did you agree with him? Or did you think he's a racist? Like I said, 81869 on the text, email Nihal at bbc.co.uk and we'll be speaking to Rafiq. But why don't you join our conversation? 08459 440 445 is the phone number. And you know what? I'll get an electronic voice to repeat it. So, did you see Benefit Street on Channel 4 last night? It was very interesting, actually. It was a programme that was plagued by issues, namely the fact that some way into filming, the street itself, or residents, decided they didn't want to have anything to do with it. They didn't want to be seen in the same light that Benefit Street was, and Benefit Street was made by the same production company. But it was really interesting listening to what Rafiq had to say, who clearly was a pillar of that community. He knew everybody, he's a lively fella, but he made comments about white people that if white people had made the same comments about Asians, they may well be accused of being racist. So, I thought to myself, how acceptable is it for British Asians to say things about white people, negative things? They're lazy, they don't want to work, etc., and not think anything wrong about it. Well, my white friends, for instance, would be horrified if a fellow one of them would say something about Asians. Oh, well, all Asians are da-da-da-da-da. Rafiq is on the line now from Southampton. Rafiq, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
Thanks for joining us on the BBC Asian Network.
That's okay.
Do you regret your comments?
No, there's no regrets. I was just being honest.
But aren't they racist?
Nah, it's not racist. A lot of my friends, 95% of my friends are English and so on. It's not racist. I'm being honest, and a lot of the English people, they agree with me as well.
Well, they agree that their own people are lazy, and don't want to work.
Yeah, lazy. A lot of them are lazy. I'm not going to say all of them are lazy. There's a majority of them. Yes, they are lazy. They don't want to work, or they want easy jobs, and so on.
So when you say these things to them, they're not offended by that at all?
No, it's not. We're not trying to be direct to one person or anybody. We're just talking about something in general, like you would sit in a pub and have a conversation. You know, you just have a talk.
But if you were to hear a white person who you didn't know,
yeah,
saying, "Oh, all Asians they don't work, they're lazy, you've got nothing to do," would you not be offended by that, Rafiq?
If that was the case, I wouldn't be offended. No.
But it's not the case that white English people are lazy. Some may be, but you said it as if they all were. You weren't specific.
I have a lot of them working for me. I'm a landlord in Southampton and so on, and I have a lot of English people, tradesmen that work for me. They're brilliant and so on. I'm talking about a lot of people which are maybe they're unfortunate and so on. They don't want to work. They're relying on the state benefits and so on. They're happy with that. They're content with that when they could achieve much more in life and then actually staying at home.
So do you think there's a feeling amongst the Asian community generally, Rafiq, that white people are lazier than Asians?
I wouldn't... this white thing, that's a bit wrong. When I'm talking with general English people, okay, they are white and so on.
Well, that's what you mean, isn't it?
In a lot of the Asian community, where we work long hours and so on, we do notice this. A lot of English people, they don't want to work. The ones who do work, they were working for a long time. They're good as gold. They're no different than us. They work long hours, so on. They look after their families. They look after themselves, financially, and so on.
It's a very difficult argument, though, isn't it? If someone who was quite right-wing, for instance, an EDL member, heard what you had to say, they'd be very upset, Rafiq.
Yeah, but how can they be upset when somebody's telling the truth? I'm born and bred here. Okay,
but you were making a comparison.
Every type of community in Southampton. I went to schools that were 99% English people there, and myself was only Asian, maybe the only Asian person there. A lot of my friends are English and so on. I'm only telling the truth, okay, which even the English people talk about. They're saying a lot of their own people are lazy. They don't want to work. And when you get these European immigrants, Asian immigrants, it's not so much Asian immigrants now. There's a lot of Europeans that are coming over are white. They're doing all the horrible jobs, and in stages in their life, they get better jobs, and they're really settling down. They're paying rent on their houses. Some of them buy their houses. The kids are in schools, colleges, universities now. They're doing something right, aren't they?
But it was white British people that spearheaded the Industrial Revolution. It was white British people that spread essentially a small country around the world with the British Empire.
I agree with that.
They're hard. They must be hard-working, industrious. Certainly cleverer than we were, considering they managed to control all our countries for a long time and managed to make divide and rule amongst all of us. So
every country, every empire has its time. You know that, I know that. Any history, you read any history, everybody has their time. This was a very recent empire that's collapsed. Times have moved on. After World War II, things have changed in this country. If it wasn't for the Asians and the Jamaicans or the people from the West Indies came here, this country, God knows where it would have been today.
Rafiq, stay with us, my friend. Siraj Banot is a guest of mine. After that, Rab's called in from Birmingham. Also, someone called Tina, not a real name, has called in as well. Siraj, good morning.
Good morning, Nihal.
You disagree with Rafiq, don't you?
Yeah, no, it's quite a broad statement to make, and it's not substantiated by fact. I think there probably are these kind of sentiments, quite, within the Asian community. I've had them myself, so I don't think it's anything new. I think it's the first time something's put on camera. But I mean, if you look at the figures, it doesn't add up. Unemployment rates in the white community are at 8%. Unemployment rates in the Pakistani Bangladesh community are 17%.
But could that be down to racism and discrimination? Not down to laziness.
No, I don't think it's to do with race. I don't think it's to do with laziness. I think we still, as an Asian community, live in ghettos. There's a huge issue with us living in ghettos where people just don't work, or if they work, it's not necessarily online. It's always it's done via the back door. So there's issues within our community as well. I don't think you can label a whole community as lazy based on one man's experience in one street in Southampton, which is essentially what this is. To put it into some context, I agree that this country wouldn't be where it is without immigration after World War II, but we've moved beyond that now. You look at any successful company, there's hardly an Asian person on that board. It's generally, white men that are running those companies. So, if you look at it from a broad perspective, this statement doesn't have any substantial facts to support it.
Yeah, I mean, go on, Rafiq. What do you think of what Suraj just said about your broad generalisations?
I mean, I agree with him. Okay, I definitely agree with him. I'm talking about my experience. Okay, in my life experience, and around me in Southampton, Derby Road, general of people that I work around with, and the feelings we get, and so on. I'm not probably talking about whole of UK, and I'm not talking about, like I said, there's certain sort of people, okay, that are lazy, don't want to work. All right, and there is a lot of English people are very successful, and I agree with him on the one and so on, but it's my experience I'm talking about, and I'm not trying to say everybody English white in UK are lazy, but that's wrong for me to say that. Okay, the way I said it on the show is from my experience on Derby Road. Okay,
but you didn't specify that, though, Rafiq. That was the point.
I know. I mean,
so that's why it came across like that. And also, what's interesting is that speaking to people, Rafiq, this morning before we came on air, it seems to be a widely held view by British Asians, what you said.
I know that. This is a normal thing.
So I know you were saying a broad generalisation, and when I first asked you, do you regret your comments, you said no, you didn't.
No, I don't regret. What I said was.
Do you regret the way you said it then? Because it was a generalisation.
And I'm not defending myself. What I said is right, and so on. And but if you go into the depth of it, you can make a little conversation to a very big conversation and a very detailed, and so on.
OK, thank you very much. Rab in Birmingham is one of the people who does agree with Rafiq, don't you, Rab?
I do indeed.
Do you not see that as racist, though?
Absolutely not, because he wasn't saying anything which isn't true. As far as the comments with the other gentleman made,
Siraj.
That he was saying that there is people that are successful high up. Yes, I do agree there. That's why it's not those people who make these comments that they're coming over and taking our jobs because they're already in high positions. It's the average Joe who lives in a council flat and doesn't have a penny to his name that then sees us Asians doing quite well, and it actually burns them when they see us driving flashy cars, or we have nice houses, or we have, the thing is, we have a different type of lifestyle to them, in the sense that we don't go to the pub every Friday and whatever we've got in our pocket, we actually just go and buy pints with it, and then the following morning go and pee it out. Yeah. The thing is
that what your impression of white British people is?
Well, it is, because I work in the community. I've seen a lot of white English people, and they have nothing to their name. The older generation.
I've seen plenty of Asians with nothing to their name. Go to Southall and see how many homeless Asians there are.
Yes, there is, and I was coming to that point.
Go on, mate.
The point I was going to come to is that the new generation of Asian kids are just as bad as the white kids, because they have a similar kind of mentality, because they've been brought up in this country, and they don't have that same view like us, the Asians that came over here back in the 60s and 50s, which was work hard, save up, because one day, you never know, we may be going back from this country. So we've all got that kind of mentality that we work hard, we save our money, we have something to show for it. And they don't like the fact that because they were born in this country, they think that nothing's ever going to happen to them, so they don't actually think for the future and save for the future. And then they don't like it when people come over and are doing well, and the simple thing that they come out of their mouth is, because obviously this is the I think the level of their intelligence, is that, they're coming over and taking our jobs. Well, you were here to start with. Nobody stopped you from getting that job. So why didn't you go and get that job?
That's true. Well,
we have it harder as Asians, because we can't change the colour of our skin. And a lot of the people are racist towards us, but yet we still actually manage to be working hard in this country and actually surviving in this country. And we're not complaining because the amount of things that we have to face. And yet they complain because they can't be bothered to get off their lazy, backsides.
Suraj, what do you think of what Rab's just said?
And again, I think, this unfortunately is a widely held view within our community.
Do you think Rab is a racist, Suraj?
I don't think there's any racist intent in his comment.
But Suraj, if you heard a white person saying that about Asians, there's not a single one of us who wouldn't immediately think of that person as being a racist.
No.
I've said it Asians as well.
And I think Nihal, I think we need to, if you immediately take the debate to racism, it's not going to progress. So I don't think actually the views are racist. I think they can be interpreted as having racial undertones, but it's an observation that people are making. So I don't think you can automatically classify as race. I think there is some level of truth in that there's a held belief in our community that white people aren't as hardworking, and I don't know how you classify as hardworking, because
sorry, say that again. Say that again, Suraj. Do you think in the Asian community there's a widely held belief that white people aren't as hardworking as Asians?
I think there is, and we've heard it now by two people on the show. I've heard it, from members of my community. I don't agree with it. I know a lot of white people, a lot of Asian people that work hard for their job, and just because you don't have a house or you don't have a mortgage, that doesn't constitute your level of hard working.
Okay, Suraj, wait there for a second. Rab, is this not biting the hand that fed us, Rab?
No, it isn't, because the hand that didn't feed us, right? The thing is, this
But what
country,
life would you have had in Pakistan compared to the life you have here?
Well, first of all, I was actually born here, so I wouldn't have had life in Pakistan.
But my point is your family, your heritage, in the same. I was born here.
When my father came here,
go on.
When my father came here, like a lot of other fathers that came here back in the 60s and 50s, they worked jobs that nobody else wanted. They were working in real bad environments, and working I think 2 jobs, night and day, sharing houses. They didn't have the luxuries that a lot of the white folks did at that time, because the way they had to think about it was they not only had to support themselves, they had to support their families back home. So they worked a lot harder. Now, before it sounds like I'm being racist, I'm not racist. The first thing I said was that this also happens in the Asians today as well. They've got a similar kind of mentality. They think, while we're born here, we don't need to, we ain't never going to go back. So the way they see it is I always say to my children, that remember, you're Asian first and then you're British, because at the end of the day, once they start getting that kind of mentality where they think, we're here, they think they don't need to bother.
You think that if they admitted that they were British, that somehow they would become lazy?
Yeah, it does, because I've seen lots of people that come over from other countries.
But you're then saying almost
a lot harder, because the way they see it is they have to not only support themselves, they have to support their families and everything.
But Rab, you're almost saying
the government's job.
But you're almost saying that calling yourself British is some kind of disease.
There isn't anything good about Britishness. I've said it many times on there when people say to me, that you should be British, more British, I say...
And I'll tell you why I'm proud of it, okay? I'm born here, and so on. I'm British does not make you feel that you're lazy or anything like that, and so on, okay? We're Asians, yes. Our parents came here, they worked very
British?
hard, and they took jobs that nobody would take.
Yeah.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. Yes, we were more motivated. We've got more motivation in us to stand on our feet and to work hard. And, we provide for our families. We get our children returned to go to university, college, school, university, take the advantages, what are given to us. It's a motivation that we got inside us. I wouldn't say... what
about
British,
Rab's point? What about Rab's
British
point?
Is lazy. That's wrong.
Well, what about
we're in this country. We're born here. We appreciate everything here. I'm an Asian. Yes. Okay. My family are from Pakistan. Yes. All right. I'm born and bred here. Like a lot of my friends are English, and a lot of people work for me. I subcontract a lot of my work out. They're English people. I have a lot of Europeans that work for me as well, Polish, Lithuanians and so on. Very hard-working people. They remind me of us the way we were when we first came to this country. We still work hard, but our jobs descriptions have changed now.
OK, thank you very much for that, Rafiq. We've got so many people calling in now. We've got Malkeet in Birmingham, we've got Kasim in Birmingham. But first, let's go to Tina, not our real name, who's in Birmingham. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning, Nihal.
Do you agree with Rafiq's point and Rab's point about white people are lazy?
I agree with all the callers' points to some degree.
Because you're an employer, is that right?
I'm an employer, and I have massive massive recruitment issue, massive, that it has a major impact on my business. And I would love to have Asian people to work for me, but I struggle to find Asian people. And not only Asian people, I do struggle to find English people. So
who do you employ then?
East Europeans.
Right. Are they the hardest working?
If they haven't grown up here and they came here as immigrants just to find work, they are the hardworking. But if they've grown up here, spent a lot of time here, they have become lazy, like all the Asians and English.
So do you think it's fair to describe British people as being lazy?
It's not them being lazy. They don't want to do menial work. It's what they see as menial work. They want to have easy jobs, working in an office, cushy environment, with an excellent pay, dress up in a suit and go. But when it comes to manual work, they don't want to do it. And with Asia, I've seen a pattern over the years emerging. Asians, they want to be fed. Whichever job they go to, they want to be picked up from home, dropped off, come when they want to come, when they don't want to come. Timing is a problem with them. And plus, they want to be fed almost 3 times a day. What was fed in the morning, not in the afternoon. What was fed in the afternoon, not in the evening. And they want fresh roti. English people, they don't want to be fed, but they want to be given, fixed time, and don't want to be forced to work hard. You ask them to move your hand faster, they look at you, it's like you got horns growing on your head. They want everything to be done timely. 1 hour lunch break, 15 minutes coffee breaks each time. They are sticklers for timing. Asians aren't sticklers for timing. And with East Europeans, what I've noticed is language is a barrier, but they come on time, they work really hard, super fast speed, super fast learners, and they're prepared to do overtime as well. All that is not an issue. They don't want to be picked up, they don't want to be dropped off. So I've seen this. What
about hygiene, for instance? What about hygiene?
Hygiene is an issue.
With who?
With all of them, actually, apart from the East Europeans. When you tell the East Europeans, wash your hands before you walk in, they will do that. And they will tie their hair back, put the aprons on, and do the work properly.
What about Asians and hygiene?
Disgusting hygiene. Disgusting. disgusting hygiene. They're too busy picking their noses, and if they won't wash their hands. You ask them to wash their hands. When you're looking, they will wash their hands. When you're not looking, they won't wash their hands. Same thing with English people as well. And with English people and Asians, they wash their hands and rub dry it on their clothes.
Tina, do you think that someone who describes white people as lazy is a racist?
Well, I'm multi-racist then. No, they're not racist at all. It's because it's what they've seen, I'd say. So if they've seen...
But if someone was to say, I live on a street with lots of Muslims and they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that, they're this, they're that, people would be automatically going, well, you're Islamophobic. So why is it if you're an Asian and you say it, you can get away by saying you're not a racist by going, oh, this is just what I've seen. So that justifies it.
But I've seen the same with the English people as well.
Okay.
I've seen it with East Europeans who have spent a lot of time in this country. They've grown up here, but not the East European adults who came here as economic migrants. I haven't seen that with them. I don't know what it is about this country. It gives the impression life is cushy here. You can get everything. You're not going to go hungry on the streets. You're not going to go cold of starvation and cold. You got protection in this country. So that gives them... This is what I'm observing. That gives them some kind of security. But when people come here as purely as economic migrants recently, they know what insecurity is, and they are terrified of it. So they are prepared to work hard. Our parents and the grandparents, when they came here, they were hard workers, real hard workers. Put the time in. They did everything right to improve their life.
But there are plenty of, look, before the welfare state...
The new generation Asians, they don't do that. Asians don't do that either, the new generation.
That's interesting. OK, Tina, great to speak to you. Thank you. Let's speak to Kasim, who's in Birmingham. After that, we've got Tariq in Bristol. Kasim, good morning.
Good morning, Nihal. How are you doing?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for getting in contact with us. Now, you spoke to a white police officer. What did he have to say?
Well, we had this conversation about, I think we were talking about the EDL and the EDL, and UKIP coming into power. It was based on the 100 days of UKIP coming into power. Yeah. And I think Britain First are launching an appeal against it or some sort of protest against very interesting. And we basically had the same view that, immigrants just want to come to the UK to work and earn a living and, look after their families back home. And it's always been the case. Now, if we go back in history and, you talked about the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of work in the UK. And I think what's happening is it's not so much people don't want to work. The work, we've got locally, let's talk about locally in Birmingham, MG Rover, one of the biggest, employers for the West Midlands, no longer exists. So you've got an area of Longbridge where generations of family who used to work for MG Rover are now unemployed.
Yeah. But do you think, though, when people say this, the whole point of this debate today is to ask Asians to look at themselves and what they say about white people. Now, there are some people on the Facebook group on BBC Asian Network who are saying, by us having this discussion, it's racist. And why are we having these difficult conversations? And why are we raising these issues? It's a non-issue. But the fact is, these people who want to bury their head in the sand on our Facebook group is that we know that Asians say things about white people, that if white people were to say that about Asians, Kasim, we'd be outraged.
Well, Nihal, you know me, I'm a regular caller of your show, and I do believe that, being judgmental is something that we need to look at ourselves first before we start pointing the finger. That's the point of the debate.
That's the point of the debate.
When we point one finger, there's always three pointing back at us. So, fair enough, I understand, Rafiq's point, but it was incorrect in him... singling out English people or white people. Now,
because he said this, Kasim, he said this on Channel 4. He didn't say it on some Asian channel, which only Asians are watching. He said a thing about white English people on Channel 4. And what it got me to think was, and then when I asked Tommy Sandu about it, who presents the breakfast show, he said he knows people who say this. And I spoke to Suraj Banot. He said he knows Asian people who say things about white people, that they're lazy and they don't work and da-da-da-da-da. And
well, you know what my view is? My view is the Asian people need to look at themselves, and only when they've got their own house in order can they then go out and point fingers at other people. we've got a number of issues within our own community that we haven't dealt with, so we shouldn't really be pinpointing issues in other communities. Now, yes, it is correct that, there is a large white community that, for generations have been claiming benefits. From what this police officer actually said to me was that, working is, it's not in their ethos at all, because their parents have never worked, their grandparents have never worked, and they don't see why they should go and work. Now, that's a separate issue on its own.
But you can hardly blame that in the sense that you've grown up. To be fair, I've never met, and I went to a predominantly white school. I didn't meet, and I went to a comprehensive school, didn't go to a posh school, and the parents of my pals at school, they all worked. They were all grafters, and their grandparents were grafters.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, there are people who... Do you think, Kasim, also it's changing? So third-generation Asians might be less hard-working than our grandparents were and our parents were.
Well, a wise man once said to me, your father will always be harder working than you, his father will always be harder working than him, and so forth. So as generations move on and as technology prevails, when I look at mental maths now, and I think, are these children going to be able to do mental maths when they're playing with iPads and phones and they've got calculators and everything? Will they be able to do the amount of work we used to be able to do with all their new tools?
Yeah.
So they've got all these new tools that actually help them do the jobs that we used to have to do manually. So, technology, I think, one of the things to blame for this is technology. Because technology is making us lazy. We don't need to go onto the computer anymore to check the news, or we don't have to switch the TV on, or, use the old teletext to check what time our relatives are coming from Pakistan anymore. It's all on our phone. So it isn't, we are becoming lazy because everything's diverted to one thing, and that's in our pocket.
All right, Kasim, thank you. Kasim in Birmingham, Tariq is in Bristol, then after that Wahid is in Birmingham. Tariq, good morning. Remember, 08459 440 445 is the phone number. Do you believe white British people are lazy? That they don't want to work? And if you do believe that, doesn't that make you a racist to say something like that about a whole group of people? Shouldn't you confront those prejudices? After all, we are very, very quick, are we not, to jump up and down and say Islamophobia, racist. But is it fine for us to say it? When we're saying it, is it a case of, oh, well, that's our experience? But yet, of course, if someone says something about their experiences about Muslims or Sikhs or Hindus or Indians or Pakistanis or Sri Lankans or Bangladeshis, wouldn't we be the first to describe them as racist? Tariq, good morning.
Good morning, Nihal.
Did you watch Immigration Street last night?
I did watch it just out of interest. I did see it advertised, so I thought I have to see this.
And what did you think of Rafiq's comments?
To be quite honest, I was completely shocked. Completely. When he actually came out with that comment, I just could not believe he actually said that live, or whenever he done it, especially on Channel 4. I was gobsmacked, basically. It was just shocking.
Why were you so shocked?
Well, it's what you were talking about earlier on. If that comment had been made by a white person, that would have been made headline news this morning by lots of TV channels, and it would have been uproar everywhere, wouldn't it? But because he said it, I didn't really hear anything this morning on any other TV station or anything like that. And I think it's very wrong for him to say that, because I know lots and lots of English people who actually work very hard. And as Asim was saying earlier on, we really do need to look at ourselves. Working hard is actually, it's in your family. It's either you've worked hard all your life or you haven't. So for him to say that, I think, was completely out of order.
All right, well, let's get Rafiq come back on this. Rafiq thinks that you were out of order to say what you said.
That's his view. I'm in my office at the moment. If you remember, there was an English chap with a Union Jack shirt on. His name is Andy Holden. He's in the office now. He's an Englishman. Does he want him to come on the show and say that English people are lazy? Will that shock him then?
Well, the difference being, I guess, is that if you can say anything you want, Rafiq, about Asians, British Pakistanis, because you are a British Pakistani. Yeah. But if you were to say so, or equally, he can say whatever he wants about white people. Yeah. But once you start saying things derogatory about another race of people, then that's what makes you a racist, doesn't it? Saying things about your own people.
We were talking.
Well, is he in the office now? Is he?
Sorry?
Can he speak to us now?
Yes, Andy will speak to you now.
Right, let's get Andy on.
Hello.
Andy, good morning to you.
Good morning to you.
My name's Nihal. This is the BBC Asia Network. Thanks for speaking to us. Rafiq said on the show yesterday, you know, British people are lazy. They don't want to work. Were you offended by that?
No, it's true. There's a lot of English people that don't want to work. That's why the immigrants have come here to take the place of the jobs that the English people don't want to do.
But isn't that a generalisation? I mean, would you dream... OK, what do you think's negative about Asian people then, sir?
Nothing. I grew up in this area around the Asian people, and I went to school with them, you know, and I had no problem at all with them. In fact, I bow down to them for trying hard, working hard, building up their family, you know, getting their kids educated, you know.
But if you were to say Asian people are lazy, if you heard a white friend of yours, for instance, Andy, say, oh, Asian people, they're lazy, don't want to work, would you think that person was saying something racist?
No, I don't think so. I wouldn't think, because like it swings in roundabouts with it. You know, like, you know, there are probably a few Asian people that are lazy, but there's more English people lazy than there are Asians. I know that.
but I guess, how do you know that? I mean, you don't know every white person.
I see it around here. You know, the way they act and they react around here. You know, you saw one sat there with his tin of Carlsberg Special Brew. That's all they want to do, mate. They want to sit on a street corner and live on their benefits and get drunk, and you know what I mean? And no future for people like that, in my mind.
OK, Andy, it's been great to get your opinion on it, my friend. Tariq, thank you very much indeed. 08459 440 445 is the phone number. You can also text 81869. On the text, talking of that, it's definitely racist. Like you said, if a white person said Asians are lazy, then the race card would be played. It's commonly known Asians work hard. That's just our mentality. White people like to work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and enjoy the weekend off. That's their way of life. Charlie from Nottingham, I totally disagree. I'm a Sikh. I've been with my white partner for 5 years. Within that time, she has established a property portfolio of 6 properties on her own whilst working full-time in her family-run shop, and she's only 31. She and her family are hard-working white people, and I have a lot of friends who are very hard-working people. It is a racist comment from the chap. Wahid in Birmingham said, there is some truth in that. When you look at the farm work or any other antisocial jobs, it's all immigrants. It's not just white people. It's all of us born here. Celeste on Facebook has said, great documentary. My husband used to live there. He tells me there was a great community spirit. I love the area, real people. Aman said, that's pathetic. You can't base laziness on race. Some of the hardest working people I know are white. You see old English ladies early in the morning, walking, going shopping, keeping fit, basically. Poonam, who's also on Facebook, said, what a stupid and uneducated comment to make. Don't forget, it's the white people who gave us Asians jobs in the first place when we first started to settle in this country. There are plenty of Asians who sponge off the government and choose to sit on their backsides and choose not to work. Zahid on Twitter said, yes, to a certain extent. I know some hard-working white people and some lazy Pakistanis. Mrs. Singer said, what about the Portuguese guy who had the same sentiments, or the Eastern European mechanic who said that the English drag out fixing car problems? Both were white. The Jamaican cleaner had the same view. People shouldn't be deemed a racist simply for voicing an opinion formed by their experiences. What do these immigrants all have in common? I guess the difference is, though, Mrs. Singh, that if a white person expresses an opinion based on their experiences, they're immediately deemed a racist. Now, if a politician on their experiences said, look, in my experience, in my constituency, Asian people do this, and then made a negative comment, can you imagine what would happen to that MP? And yet we feel perfectly at home to say things about white people. I mean, that's the difference, isn't it? What do these immigrants all have in common, asks Mrs. Singh. They come from countries that do not nurture a lazy mentality. You work and earn or you starve. Their point is that the English don't know how lucky they are to have such a robust safety net. I don't think the comments are racist. It's an observation on how good we British have it in comparison to corrupt, undemocratic and post-war countries. Zaki from Belfast said, love the show, bro, listening every day. Great topic and so true. Unbelievable how racist our community is, and it's not just towards white people. Chinese people also get it. Hear it so many times, especially at weddings when about in town. That's and then says ridiculous. 81869 on the text. Email Nihal at bbc.co.uk. Last night on Benefit Street, which was a programme on Channel 4... Sorry, Immigration Street, my apologies. Benefit Street was the made by the same production company. On Immigration Street, Rafiq, a British Pakistani, said that British people were lazy. And I thought about how many times I'd heard Asians say, oh, well, you know, Gore this and, you know, white people are this. And I thought, well... if it was reversed, if I heard white people saying that about Asians, if I was in a lift and I heard two white people talking and they said, oh yeah, but you know, Asians, they're lazy, aren't they, don't work. Or Asians, God, they smell of curry, don't look after the outside of their houses, are terrible. Then I'd go, mate, excuse me, that's offensive. That's racist. Perhaps we as Asians might agree with it, but we don't want to let anyone else say it. And in the same way, is it racist or is it just an observation? Wahid is in Birmingham. Wahid, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. What do you think of Rafiq's comments on Immigration Street?
I think he's got to be wrong, to be honest, yeah, because it's more to do with the culture than anything else. Because typical people, including Asians who've been brought up in this country,
right?
What you want to do is work 40 hours a week,
yeah,
get decent money for it, go home 5 o'clock, play with the kids, you know, have a bit of a relaxed life. The Asian mentality, like the Asians or most immigrants, they come over here, they want to work 90 hours a week.
Yes.
All they want to do is earn loads of money, you know, for whatever reason, buy 10 houses, you know, it's just never enough. With a typical English person, you know, or that's a typical British person, all they want to do is work 40 hours a week, you know, decent jobs, decent pay, you know, living wages, none of these minimum wage. And, you know, go home to your kids, relax for a bit, you know, chill out, watch a bit of telly.
So does that make, Wahid, does that make them lazy, or does that mean they've got the life-work balance right, and we've got it wrong?
It's a perfect life, isn't it? You work. It's the same in Germany. People work 36 hours a week. Nobody owns their own houses as such. Because, you know, and when you retire at 65, 60, or whatever, where we're putting away, you know, you're going to have a bit of pension, you're going to be able to live by. Everybody's got a private pension now, including myself. You know, you're going to be able to live your life, not, you know, relying on this building an empire. You look at typical...
so are we just greedy? Is that what it is, Wade? We're just greedy?
I mean, you look at Asian guys come over here, people from India, Pakistan, or whatever, they end up working 3 different jobs. Same with, you know, these guys from East Europe. You know, you look at the typical Pakistani taxi drivers, they work all week, you know, let's say 12 hours shift, 5 days. Then they do the weekend as well, you know, they're killing themselves. All they want to do is buy loads of houses and stuff like that, you know, oh, look, I made it in life. What you made? You made nothing. All you made is early grave for yourself. As far as I'm concerned.
Right, Wahid, thank you very much for sharing your concerns with us. On email, Sam has said, Rafiq is kind of right, but not all of the English are like that, but it is a phenomenon. There is a strange aspiration for a desk job in the UK, which I haven't seen in other countries, where they have a pride in whichever work you do. I noticed this in India, where regardless of your work, you take pride in that. That's what a lot of immigrants bring here. It's not all English, though. There is still a pride in the working class, and even the middle classes too. What I want to know is, why do Channel 4 do constant TV about people with less in society? Why not do numerous seasons of programmes about the affluent and people in the city spending their money on overpriced nonsense? Yeah, well, watch Made in Chelsea, or indeed any of the other shows that you can see about posh people. We love a posh person on TV here at the Beeb, on overpriced nonsense, as they are filling a hole in their life with plastic things. They tend to use their imagination to justify high spending on junk. Jay is in Ilford. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, Nihal.
Do you believe white people are lazy?
Well, I agree to a certain extent with Rafiq, but I think he had it slightly wrong. The laziest people are first the black people, then it's the white people, and then it's the Eastern European people.
Are you a racist, Jay?
No, but I'm just saying what I've seen throughout my life. Black people, you always see them. They never have jobs. They always are on the street corners smoking.
Who? Sorry, who are you talking about?
Black people.
Have you been to Southall?
Yeah, I've been to Southall.
Yeah. Have you ever seen any Asians hanging around on street corners smoking?
No.
Well, I don't know what part of Southall you've been to.
But majority of Southall is a good. I personally feel that the Sikh community is the most hard-working in the entire Britain, and all the other communities are no way as good as the Sikhs in terms of hard work. That shows. Because the Sikhs are the wealthiest.
I don't think that's backed up. I think the Hindu community are actually the most affluent community. They're certainly the most educated community in the UK, Jay. So that actually there's no proof in what you've just said.
Well, in terms of wealth, in net wealth, I actually researched this. In terms of net wealth, Sikhs are the wealthiest community in the whole of Britain.
Well, we'll look that up. Osman will look that up for me now and find out, as for ethnic breakdown, who is the wealthiest or the most successful.
White people, I tend to also agree, white people are lazy. I mean, at my workplace, I'm the one that does all the work, and the white people are the ones that are, they don't hardly do any work, yet they get promoted, and I'm the one that's missed out on promotion twice now because, the racist managers.
But what you just said about black people was racist, Jay.
How is it? That's not racist, because that's just making...
You said black people are the laziest people.
Yeah, but that's...
If you heard a black person say that, Sikhs are the laziest people, would you find that offensive?
Yes, because it's not true.
Okay, all right, okay. Angie wants to come in and say something about what you've said. Angie, good morning.
Hello.
What do you think of what Jay has just said?
I think he's downright rude, and if no offence, please don't take this, because I'm not racist in any way, shape or form. And believe me when I tell you, I work 14 to 15 hours a day as a support worker. Yeah?
Yeah.
And how dare you think that everybody in this country is racist just because you don't get a promotion? That is so wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you're white. Angie, you're white, aren't you?
Oh, so what? I'm white. Do you know what? I don't care whether you're black, white, Indian, Sikh. I don't care. You are what you are, right? I respect all religions and all people.
So So Angie, as a white British person, and I know you don't want to be. I know. I do apologise for keep saying that, but the reason I said it is because when you hear Asians talking about white people in the way they are, how does it make you feel?
Angry. Do you know what? If we're so bad, why are people wanting to come over to our country? If we're such disgusting, racist, horrible, lazy people. Really? I mean, come on, get reality checks here.
But Angie, are you educated? Have you got education?
No, actually, I'm on my NVQ2 because my NVQ2 as a support worker, I actually support.
So then you must
I go to people. No, listen to me. Hang on, please. Listen to me when I tell you this. I go to people's houses and I care for them, whatever they need doing, personal care, whether they be Sikh, whether they be Muslim. I don't care. I care for people from my heart. I don't care what ethnic minority you are. If you are needing care and you come to us, I will care from the very bottom of my heart and the best that I can possibly do. I don't care about religions. You respect our religion, we respect yours. And not everybody in England's got my point of views. I respect that, right? But I mean, come on.
Angie, it's been great hearing from you. Thank you very much, Jay in Ilford. Thank you very much indeed. Wow, we're going to be returning to this in an hour. Stay with us.
The sound of Asian Britain on digital.
It is 12:15 and a very, very good afternoon to you. In the first hour of the show, we had a very honest conversation about Asian attitudes towards white British people. Now, some people are arguing that this is divisive. We shouldn't be having a conversation like this. And I would say to those people, it is about looking at how we talk about white British people and exposing hypocrisy and our prejudices, and whether you think that is acceptable to talk about white British people as it seems so many Asians do. Because, of course, this is anecdotal. We haven't done any research on this. But so far, I haven't really met an Asian who doesn't know someone who says things like, well, white people are like this and Gore are like this and they do this and they do that. And most of the time, they are negative comments. Gaurav got in contact with us. Gaurav, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nihal.
How are you, mate?
Doing very well, thank you. Yourself?
Good. I mean, did you see Immigration Street last night?
No, I did not, no.
Did you hear Rafiq talking about, British people as being lazy?
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think it's a terrible thing to say. Totally wrong. Nothing could be so far away from truth from what he's saying. I have lived in 3 different countries in my life. When I was in India, I met different kinds of people. People who were very lazy, people who were very hardworking, who would work like donkeys but would never get anywhere in their life. People who would wake up at 5 in the morning and would be working until 10 in the night. And then there was also the cream, people who were very smart, who would work as much was required, but, would produce excellent results. There was a whole strata. There's different kinds of people. Then I lived in Sweden for some years, for about 6 years, and I found it was the same there as well. There were lots of lazy people, lazy, white, blonde, good-looking people who wouldn't want to go and work just because they didn't want to and had an excellent state benefit system. Then there were some very smart Swedish people who would practically run the whole country. I mean, mind you, it's a very small country, 10 million people. Then I moved to UK about 8 years ago. And I find it's the same here as well. There's lots of white people who are lazy, don't want to do anything. There are lots of white people who are very smart, very hardworking, will get up early in the morning, get their job done, take care of their families, play with their kids in the evening, live a very complete life. But for a Rafiq to generalize and say that all white British are lazy, it doesn't make any sense. If they are really lazy, then how come Britain is one of the top countries in the world? How did they get there? Is he trying to say that 4 or 5 million odd immigrants living in this country are taking Britain where it is today?
I guess that's what he is saying, yes.
Doesn't make any sense to me. It's baseless. And at the end of the day, for me, the way to make sense out of this is just to look at some numbers. And I did tell out some numbers. India's GDP is $1.9 trillion.
Yeah.
And it has a population of 1.2 billion people. UK's GDP is $2.7 trillion, almost 30% more than that of India. And the population is 20 times less, 60 million.
Right, well, that is a stark example of how ridiculous it is to regard British people as lazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but if I look at another country, Sweden's GDP is $500 billion, but population of only 10 million. So that country is even more efficient than the UK. But that, to say that Asians are very hardworking might be true, yes. But to say that Brits are not, or white Brits are not, that makes no sense to me. Senseless, baseless.
Right, Gaurav, thank you very much for sharing that with us, my friend. Swapan is in East London. After that, we've got Bobby in Birmingham. We've got Poonam in Reading. Swapan, very good afternoon to you. How are you, sir?
Brother, I want to make a comment about this Immigration Street. Star, is it Rafiq?
Rafiq, yes.
He was on the radio listening. He spoke about his being a landlord, and I should think white Asian people and white British or English people and Asian were unemployed. This may be young or middle-aged or whatever age. They're on the same boat, I think. I make short, yeah?
Right.
Brother. And he talked about Europeans. He said Europeans hardworking, Asians hardworking. No, I can accept that. But about English people, if they're unemployed, like Asians, if the Asians unemployed, can't find a job, don't have much qualification going for courses. They're on the same boat, going on benefit. Anyway, that's the first point. Then what I want to say about Rafiq, he's a landlord. I think he associates, it's my thinking, and his clients, his tenants, and people who work for him, maybe they are English people, and he had dealings with them. He's not satisfied with, and they were put to be dishonest with him. He got that grudge against English people, and saying that English people are lazy. That's my view about Rafiq.
Right, Rafiq. Swapan, thank you very much indeed. Bobby is in Birmingham. Bobby, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good, mate, good. Thanks for calling in, Bobby. Do you agree with Rafiq's points and points that other people made? Rab made the same point about white British people.
No, not at all. I mean, fair play to Rafiq. He's done well for himself, his little corner shop and his houses and so forth. That's all good, and he's, one of the lucky ones to do well. You can't brush everybody with the same brush. I mean, for instance, he just has to look on his own doorstep. Them thugs that were bullying people yesterday on that show and the way they went around. I mean, that's a common sight in most major cities that are highly populated with Asians. Now, if we say every Asian's a thug or a bully or a gangster, is that right? I mean, you can't say that certain communities don't do this and don't do that. They're like this, they're like that. I mean, Rafiq, you've got an opportunity in this country to do well. In your corner shop, own some flats and houses. You've done well. I mean, this country is giving you the opportunity. Don't knock the people of the country, and don't knock this country for what it is. It's given us an opportunity. Look on the doorstep of what is actually going on in your doorstep. I mean, I didn't see in the clips last night any white Asian thugs, white face thugs were there. They were like the young sort of clown that was bullying everybody, clearly shown was an Asian.
Bobby, we're going to try and get you on a cleaner line, my friend, because it sounds terrible. Maybe your end, not ours. And in the meantime, let's go to Poonam, who got in contact with us. Poonam, hello. Poonam? Is Poonam there? We seem to be having hassles with this. Let's see if we can go back to Bobby and let's see if it's a clearer line now. Bobby.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds a lot clearer, Bobby. Bobby. Oh, Bobby, are you with us? No, we seem to have lost everyone now. Let us just read out some texts and emails from the first hour. Oh, Poonam's here? Okay, Poonam, hello?
Hi, good afternoon, Nihal.
Hooray! Brilliant, it's working, it's working. Sometimes these things happen on live radio. Poonam, tell me, how did you feel about Rafiq's comments?
Clearing this first, I didn't see the program. I only know about it from your discussion this morning.
Yes.
But I personally think it's a very stupid generalization, to be honest. I mean, that's the same as saying all Asians are terrorists. Don't get me wrong, but we are painting everyone in the same paint, aren't we? By saying, yeah, everyone is lazy. I mean, if you go into the Indian community or even the Pakistani community, I'm sure all of us have people who work really, really hard for their living, whereas we've got people who are on benefits and think, no, you know what, I'm not going to do anything because I can't be bothered. But you can't say all Asians are like that or all British people are like that. I mean, I've worked in a firm, I work for an accountancy firm, and we've got clients who are British, we've got Asians, and all of our British clients work really, really hard to do what they do and be where they are.
But does it worry you when you hear, because it wasn't just Rafiq, there were other people who got in contact with us who felt exactly as he did. And speaking to Tommy Sandu, who presents The Breakfast Show on the BBC Asian Network this morning, he said that he'd heard in his social circles. Yeah, right. So you've heard it lots of times as well. So clearly there must be some kind of, and this is not scientifically proven, but there must be a widespread body of opinion in the Asian community that somehow we're superior when it comes to work ethic than white people.
I mean, yeah, I was speaking to my employer about the conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about something like that, and he said he doesn't think that foreign workers are necessarily more efficient than the British workers, but they have certainly got much better of a work ethic. And when he said that, I thought, okay, maybe there is some kind of truth in there, but categorizing everyone to be lazy is what I don't agree with. I mean, everyone at one point of time, as I said, every culture, every religion, or every country has people who are lazy. But you won't say that, okay, all Indians are lazy. Because, if you go to India, if you want to get any job done, Nihal, you would spend 6 months to do a job that will take you 5 minutes to do. Why is that?
But then, of course, people would say that that's because of the bureaucracy, and the bureaucracy was given to India by the British.
It was given, but I think with the bureaucracy, there's also a bit of laziness in there. When the work timings are, say, 9 to 5, people don't really turn up to work till about 10, 10:30. The offices don't open till 11, some of them, when they're supposed to open at 9 o'clock. The laziness is there. I think it's there in every country. But it's just categorizing everyone to be in that.
Do you challenge it?
Agree.
When you hear those opinions from Asians about white people, do you challenge it ever?
I do. I have had conversation with my colleagues and with my friends, actually Asian friends, and we've said, and I said, but don't you think we are lazy at times? Don't you think we can do these things? Because I've actually worked in a firm which had 80% of foreign workers and 20% of English workers. And this is in the city. And when I was working there, that's the first thing that kind of stuck me, thinking, how comes we've got so many of them? And it's Asians, we do our overtimes. If someone comes to me at 4 o'clock on my desk and said, do you mind working another 3 hours today? Because, we'll pay you double the money. For us, it's like, okay, fine, we'll do it. I'll do the overtime for that. Whereas if a white British person wants to go home at 5 o'clock, go to the pub, enjoy a drink with his friends, or spend some more time with their family, that's not being lazy.
Well, that's
just
kind of
them working like that, isn't it?
But having a better work-life balance, I guess.
Exactly. Yes. Whereas, when I started working in the city, when you're single, you can go out with your friends on a weekend or something. So if someone did offer me and said, would you like to work another couple of hours? That doesn't mean I am really hardworking as compared to all my other British colleagues. That just means that, my priority at that point was, okay, that's not bad. I'm getting a few more pennies here for doing this. I might as well do it if I haven't got a plan. Whereas if the same thing was offered to a white British colleague and if he decided to go home, he's not lazy. He has done his work from 9 to 5, so you can't. I mean, this is Rafiq's comment. I don't agree with them at all. I felt really bad when Angie came on the radio a little while ago, and sitting there as a white British person, listening to all Asians saying, yeah, all white British people are lazy. I would feel really bad. Why are you in the country then if that's what you feel? We shouldn't be here. We should go back to a place where, we think everyone's hardworking. So we obviously think as Asians that all the Indians are hardworking, all the Pakistanis are hardworking. So maybe we should go back and try and see how hard we work there and what we get in return as compared to what this country and the people in this country give us.
All right, Poonam, thank you very much indeed. Bobby on a clearer line now in Birmingham. Bobby.
Hi, mate.
Welcome back.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right. It's fine. It's great that we can hear you now in clarity. Bobby,
yes, mate.
Do you challenge it? If you hear Asian, I mean, maybe you've never heard an Asian person talk about white people in this way, but would you challenge it if you did?
Yeah, definitely I would challenge it because it's unfair. Because, as I was saying before we got cut off, that it's unfair. You can't brush everybody with the same brush. You can't say that, like we saw in the programme last night, which was, a little point that maybe it's been overlooked, but them thugs and them bullies that were bullying the residents for not wanting to be filmed, I mean, they were Asians. So, what jobs do they do? I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you what I think they do or what anybody else thought what they did. And there's a common sight around most Asian areas up and down the UK that you'll see sort of gangs of Asian lads like that, not doing any work, standing on street corners in cafes or whatever. Now, if we would say all Asians were like that, that's not going to be a fair point. But, Rafiq's done well with his corner shop and his flats and so forth. That's well done to you, mate. I mean, you've done well. This country's given you the opportunity to do that. This country's laws and the people of this country have accepted you for you to do that. Show a little bit of respect. I mean, there's a lot of people that are quick off the mark. They do a little well for themselves. They get arrogant and they're quick off the mark to sort of knock the country, the people of the country, your fellow white sort of people that we live with in this country. We're very quick off the mark to do that. But just take a step back and look what is happening on your own doorstep. It's a common sight. Asian youths not working. What are they doing? What are they doing? There's loads of stories. I mean, I don't really want to say. I don't want to say what I think they're doing, but it's not rocket science to know what they are doing, and it just looks bad.
All right, Bobby, we're going to have to leave it there. Bobby, thank you very much, mate. Good to speak to you. Neil lastly called in from North West London, not his real name. He's an employer. Good afternoon to you, mate.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm really glad you called in. Really glad you called in. I'm from North West London myself.
No, me and you, I won't take up too much of your time. We actually go way back. You're a customer of mine in my firm's previous stores.
Is that right?
Yeah, I know you really well. Even from the time when you had your first baby, you'd come and buy stuff from me.
Oh my gosh!
I have a history with you, Nihal, which you're probably not aware of.
Oh my gosh! Wow! I wish we were doing this on TV so I could see who you were. I'm intrigued now. But anyway,
you always give me that kind of Nihal nod, as I call it, when you say, "Yeah, man, I was respecting you," which is fine. Now, the thing is, my business relocated in September, quite close to Southampton. Actually, technically, Southampton is it starts from about 500 yards from where I trade, right. Albeit it's not in Southampton itself. And I have had massive problems trying to recruit the right people. They happen to be all all white. And my issue is this: having recruited Eastern Europeans and worked with them in my previous stores and things like that, the problem is two words: entitlement culture. The guys that come from Romania and things like that, they're all very good and they work very hard to begin with. But as soon as they start to understand what they're entitled to, their attitude starts to change, and I've seen that. And when I've recruited people from here, I've even outsourced people from the dole offices themselves, and they don't want to work. I have actually found that rather than say, you know what, there's an opportunity, I can make better myself, I've had 3 or 4 phone calls that I haven't taped, but I can tell you, they've applied for a job, they want the job. When I asked them how many hours they can do, they said, I can do 16 hours. And I said, why is that? And they said, it's because I'm on benefits. And I said, well, you lose your benefits. And when I try to explain to them, what they can get, they weigh it up and say, no, we're better off on benefits. So I can sympathise with Rafiq's point of view, because where he trades and in and around the area that he's in, there is this kind of very, very, very strong entitlement culture that exists, where kids come out and they expect to have really good jobs, as one of your callers said, on little or no education. And when they're offered an opportunity, they tend to turn it down in favour of having a life on benefits or an easier life, an easier job. I've taken on a cleaner, and I've given her an opportunity to work permanently, and she found the work was too hard working in my store, and she went back to being a cleaner, and so that she can claim benefits as well.
Wow.
So some of what Rafiq is saying is right. It's just the way he's kind of put it through, because obviously he's feeling a bit emotional about things. He's kind of put it through, and it's come off on television and things like that. But there is a real problem in this part of the country, and I've worked in previous lives in Newcastle, in Scotland, I've been all over. There is a real problem in this part of the country with people having an entitlement culture, more so than even in London. In London, it's like, you pay them £7.50 or whatever it is, they start working, and then they're okay. But here, my God, I don't mind telling you now, I'm trying my best to get out of here. I'm that disappointed with the locals around here. I'm actually trying my best to relocate somewhere else.
My gosh.
Start my business from scratch, having spent loads of money on it. Because we got to such a stage on the 29th of November, I had a phone call and from the manager of the shopping centre that I'm based at, and he said all of your staff have resigned. All 7 of them, for no reason. Entitlement culture. And I had to run my own store myself, and I travelled 2 hours there and 2 hours back every day. Entitlement culture, my friend.
Wow, okay. Well, that's... Neil, I hope next time we meet, we can have a good sit-down and have a cup of tea.
Yeah, when you say you recognise me, I hope your family are well, because I remember when you used to come into my store with, I think, one of your firstborn and your missus in Portobello Road. You used to come regularly.
Jeez!
And the nice thing about you never used to ask for discounts, so I liked you. And then I used to see you at HMV in Whiteley's before they started to close. Jeez. And you see me regularly. Me and you be in
now I'm feeling... Listen, do me a favour and take a picture.
to kind of approach you because you're like a celebrity.
No, I'm not. I'm definitely not. Definitely not a celebrity. But you know what you got to do? You got to take a picture and you got to send it to my team here so I can see you. I won't put it on here. I won't put it on here. I won't put it on the website. 81869 is the text number, Neil. But listen, we've got to move on. But great to speak to you, my friend. Take care of yourself. Really, what a fascinating discussion with lots of different views from employers. We had a white person call in. We had lots of different views on that. So thank you very much indeed for engaging with us. And thank you to everybody on Facebook and Twitter as well. It was a very lively conversation going on there. Eek had to say, is it fair to judge a whole community like that? And how would you feel if the tables were turned? Perhaps as a British Muslim specifically, you do know what it feels like when you're all lumped together. White people don't want to work. They're lazy and now they're complaining about immigrants doing well. Is that the perception that most Asians have about white British people? It seems to be an extraordinary conversation to be having, and I can imagine if a Daily Mail journalist or a UKIP member was listening, not saying that the two things are mutually... I'm not going to get myself into a cul-de-sac there. Then they might well be outraged. So what's the difference? Wes just tweeted me saying, I take offence to some Sikh kids calling my kids skinny white boys. I told their father he wasn't bothered in the slightest. That's what someone's just tweeted me. So tell me, what do you think? And if you watched Immigration Street last night and you heard Rafiq made those comments, did you agree with him? Or did you think he's a racist? Like I said, 81869 on the text, email Nihal at bbc.co.uk, and we'll be speaking to Rafiq. But why don't you join our conversation? 08459 440 445 is the phone number. And you know what? I'll get an electronic voice to repeat it. So, did you see Benefit Street on Channel 4 last night? It was very interesting, actually. It was a programme that was plagued by issues, namely the fact that nearly 10 o'clock, white people don't want to work. They are lazy. Is that what British Asians think about white people? The reason I'm asking this question is because they are direct quotes from a gentleman who featured in Channel 4's Immigration Street last night. We're going to be talking to him in a little while. His name's Rafiq. But is that a fair comment to make? Would you like it if someone said that about Asians? What kind of things do people say about white people? What beliefs do Asians have? It was quite interesting. When we were trying to cast our guests for the first hour, we couldn't find anyone that disagreed with Rafiq's statements. White people don't want to work and they are lazy. Is that racist? It certainly sounds like it. 81869 on the text or email Nihal at bbc.co.uk, and we'll start talking after the news with Priyanka Deladia.
Got something to say? Then say it. Nihal on BBC Asian Network.
Priyanka, thank you very much indeed. Good morning. 4 minutes past 10 in the morning. Welcome to the phone-in show with me, Nihal. Did you watch Immigration Street last night on Channel 4? Here's what one of the residents, Rafiq, had to say.
On TV, the media, the way they're portrayed, immigrants coming over, they're only talking about the negative side. You want the truth? English people are very lazy. Immigrants come here, do all the rubbish jobs.
Some way into filming, the street itself, or residents, decided they didn't want to have anything to do with it. They didn't want to be seen in the same light that Benefit Street was, and Benefit Street was made by the same production company. But it was really interesting listening to what Rafiq had to say, who clearly was a pillar of that community. He knew everybody, he's a lively fella, but he made comments about white people that if white people had made the same comments about Asians, they may well be accused of being racist. So, I thought to myself, how acceptable is it for British Asians to say things about white people? Negative things. They're lazy, they don't want to work, etc., etc., and not think anything wrong about it. Well, my white friends, for instance, would be horrified if a fellow one of them would say something about Asians. Oh, well, all Asians are da-da-da-da-da. Rafiq is on the line now from Southampton. Rafiq, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning to you.
Thanks for joining us on the BBC Asian Network.
That's okay.
Do you regret your comments?
No, there's no regrets. I was just being honest.
But aren't they racist?
Nah, it's not racist. A lot of my friends, 95% of my friends are English and so on. It's not racist. I'm being honest, and a lot of the English people...
and they do well, and you people can't handle it. And that's the honest truth. And let's be honest about that. And 10 years, 15 years down the line, they're doing well, and you lost complaining. So why is it these people doing well? And if it wasn't for the immigrants after World War II, your country will not, or say our country will not be where it is today.
Do you agree with that? We're going to be speaking to Rafiq in a little while. But do you agree with what he had to say? That without immigrants, this country wouldn't be where it was. That English people are lazy. They don't want to work. Is that how Asians think about white people? If you are against that, get in contact with me. If you have some sympathy with that, get in contact with me. But if you do have some sympathy with it, what's the difference between you and a racist? If you're willing to see a whole race of people, perhaps it's your own personal experiences. But of course, don't we always say to people who are racist against Asians, don't block us all together. Judge us individually by what we do. And yet, are we willing to say things about whole groups of white people? When I was talking to Tommy Sandu earlier on about this, he said he hears this stuff said all the time in his family. About white people are this, white people are that. And none of it positive. So, tell me, do you agree with what Rafiq...
they agree with me as well.
Well, they agree that their own people are lazy, and don't want to work.
Yeah, they're lazy. A lot of them are lazy. I'm not going to say all of them are lazy. There's a majority of them. Yes, they are lazy. They don't want to work, or they want easy jobs, and so on.
So, when you say these things to them, they're not offended by that at all?
No, it's not. We're not trying to be direct to one person or anybody. We're just talking about something in general, like you would sit in a pub and have a conversation. You know, you just have a talk.
But if you were to hear a white person who you didn't know, saying, "Oh, all Asians, they don't work, they're lazy, you've got nothing to do," would you not be offended by that, Rafiq?
If that was the case, I wouldn't be offended. No.
But it's not the case that white English people are lazy. Some may be, but you said it as if they all were. You weren't specific.
I have a lot of them working for me. I'm a landlord in Southampton and so on, and I have a lot of English people, tradesmen that work for me. They're brilliant and so on. I'm talking about a lot of people which are maybe they're unfortunate and so on. They don't want to work. They're relying on the state benefits and so on. They're happy with that. They're content with that when they could achieve much more in life.